Join me as I dive into the heated trade battle and try to break down what China's response to the 75% tariffs really mean for all of us. China's electric vehicle industry is facing a serious challenge. The United States just announced a massive 75% tariff on Chinese made electric vehicles, making them much more expensive for American buyers. Now, the big question is, how will China fight back? This tariff is a huge deal, and it affects go way beyond just making Chinese EVs pricier. It could shake up the global trade, slow down China's booming EV industry, and even spark a big trade war between these two economic giants. Let's take a closer look at what's happening and what it means for the future. Why did the US impose these tariffs? The US has been accusing China of unfair trade practices for years. They argue that China gives its companies unfair advantage by providing government subsidies and controlling prices. By imposing the 75% tariff, the US want to make Chinese EVs less competitive in the American market. But is this the right move? Some believe the tariffs will protect American EV manufacturers like Tesla and Ford by making it harder for cheaper Chinese vehicles to take over the market. Others argue that this could backfire, leading to higher car prices and fewer options for consumers. So, how will this affect China? For China, this is a major problem. The EV industry is a huge part of its economy, and losing access to the American market could mean billions of dollars in lost revenue. Many Chinese car manufacturers depend on selling to the US, and now those sales could drop drastically. But China isn't just going to sit back and do nothing. They have a few ways they could respond, and each one could have serious consequences for the global trade. So, how might China respond? China has several options when it comes to retaliating against the US. Here are a few possibilities. Tariff on US goods. China might hit back by placing high tariffs on American products like soybeans, aircraft, or even US made cars. This would hurt the American companies that rely on selling to China. Boosting domestic demand instead of focusing on the exports, China could encourage its own people to buy more Chinese EVs. To buy more Chinese EVs. If more Chinese consumers buy locally made cars, the industry could survive without depending on US sales. Finding new markets, China could shift its focus to selling EVs in Europe, Japan, and other parts of the world. If the US market is closed off, China might try to dominate other regions instead. Playing the long game, China is known for thinking long term. They might wait for the US to feel the effects of the tariffs and then negotiate a deal that benefits them. What has China said about this? China's Commerce Ministry has already responded. Spokesman Feng warned that China would take necessary countermeasures. If the US continues to impose these tariffs, he also called the tariffs unreasonable and unacceptable. In simple terms, China is making it clear that they are not going to let this slide. They see these tariffs as an attack on the economy and they are prepared to fight back. So, what this means for the rest, this isn't just a US China problem. Other countries are watching closely, and their economies could also be affected. For example, if China decides to sell more EVs to Europe, that could shake up the European market. If the US decides to impose more tariffs on other Chinese products, it could lead to supply chain disruption and higher prices for everyone. So there's also the risk of full-blown trade war. If both countries keep increasing tariffs on each other's products, it could hurt global trade, slow down economic growth, and make everyday products more expensive for consumers around the world. Could this push China to become more independent? One unexpected result of this trade battle might be that China speeds up its efforts to become more self sufficient. China has already been working on reducing its reliance on US technology, especially in areas like semiconductors and batteries. Now, with these new tariffs in place, China might invest even more in its own industries. If they can produce their own high tech components and build a stronger EV industry without needing the US, they could become even more powerful in the long run. So, what about American companies in China? Many American car companies work closely with Chinese manufacturers. Ford, General Motors, and Tesla all have factories in China. If China decides to make things harder for American companies operating in their country, they could cause major problems for all these businesses. Imagine if China suddenly imposed new restrictions on US automakers or made it harder for them to do business. That could create serious disruptions in the industry, leading to higher prices of American consumers and fewer jobs for workers. And what happens next? Right now, it's hard to say exactly how this will play out. Will China strike back with its own tariffs? Will the US keep increasing trade restrictions? Or will both sides eventually negotiate a deal? But one thing is certain, this situation is far from over. This trade battle is high stakes. This trade battle is a high stakes game, and both sides have a lot to lose. The next few months will be crucial in determining what happens. The 75% tariff on Chinese EVs is a huge move that could have lasting consequences. It's not just about protecting American businesses, it's about global trade, economic power, and political influences. Will China retaliate? Will this escalate into a bigger trade war, or will both countries find a way to reach a deal? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe to get updated on new videos. Thanks for watching.